What's up? What's up? We are back. It's another episode. I'm here. It's Yung Fleur. We're doing the Fleur Files thing, of course. Episode 2. Two. Imagine that I'm doing this for a second week in a damn row. Wonders shall never end. But anyway, I'm here to get in touch with y'all. You already know what it is. We just finished doing a little recap of the New York Fashion Week things in the previous episode. And I've been taking things slow. I was like, as soon as every week is done, I want to come through with a whole new episode for the people. Like, New York's done, boom, New York episode. London done, boom, London episode. Just giving you everything. But, child, I ain't got it. I'm not going to front on you. So I thought it would be much better and more beneficial for all of us, to be honest, to take things slow. Catching these shows one after another, talking with other people and some like peers and colleagues about the shows. Some people still haven't caught up on some shows that have already passed like weeks ago. You know what I mean? So let's take a breather. This is not a fucking midterm. There is no rush. Like, we can take our time and just move through the shows real nice and subtle and smooth with it. So why not? You know what I mean? So I wanted to take some time and go over the London shows. So London Fashion Week passed. And as y'all know, there were a lot of kind of shakeups that came around. This was the first collection that we were seeing from Daniel Lee, who recently left his position as creative director at Bottega Veneta to be the creative director at Burberry after Ricardo got bumped out of there. It's a whole mess, child. So this was a very highly anticipated moment. And then, of course, we had other designers in the place. Dilara, a couple others. I got it all listed down, but let me just jump into it real quick. Why not? Some highlights from the London Fashion Week Autumn/Winter 2023 shows. We had Harris Reed. Now, Harris Reed has definitely been setting the runways ablaze, or not even the runways, more so the lookbooks ablaze with these really over-the-top kind of circus Barnum and Bailey type 70s, like just something out of a Tim Walker film type get-ups with these like monochromatic moments, these like really crazy bell-bottom things, crazy hats. We most recently saw Shania Twain, I believe, at the Grammys in one of the moments with like a real Wendy's 4 for 4 red, like long little bust down with the bang. So yeah, Harris Reed has definitely been making their rounds. And so with this collection, we saw kind of this, once again, really ostentatious, very classically Harris Reed, black and gold moments. It was all in all a 10-look collection. And he says something about how all the world's a stage. Taking inspiration from Shakespeare's As You Like It, playing with grandeur and performative clothing. So you definitely get this feeling like these looks look like something that would be straight out of some sort of theatrical production, which once again is nothing we haven't seen before from Harris Reed. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to maybe seeing a bit of something that actually feels ready to wear. These looks are super over the top, but I'd love to see this incorporated into something that feels a little bit more everyday and realistic for people to rock. I mean, maybe the pants, you know what I mean, give way to some wearability or possibility to be something that, you know, you could wear straight off the rack. But some of these looks are real going in a completely different direction. I do love these really like abstract fluid lines and these kind of floaty surreal moments that we see in some of the moments, like look number 3 and 4 with these kind of like oblong shapes that seem to evaporate almost like smoke into the air but are kind of like in fixed motion. And one of the whatever these like black blobs, it seems to be like in stopped motion, kind of enveloping the model in look 4. All of these look like something out of some real like next level Alice in Wonderland kind of gig. But I live for look number 9 and 10, these kind of celestial moments. This like liquid gold moment that we saw in look number 9 was super stunning. And number 10 as well, with these circular shapes creating this like really gorgeous halo. And we saw something similar to look 10 before, kind of like with that look that Iman wore at the Met Gala that one year with that really large circular hat moment, and then the skirt that had like kind of like a petticoat structure and was like feathered or something like that. He loves to kind of go back to these kind of shapes, these circular shapes, and really playing with like a gown sort of silhouette. Really cool, really over the top, like I said, but like let's get something that the girls can really wear right away. As y'all may know, Harris Reed is getting ready to debut his first collection as creative director for Nina Ricci as well. So we're I don't know what this signifies for what's to come, but we'll see. I literally have no idea of what to expect with that moment. But moving on, I want to talk about another show. Let's talk about Burberry. So Burberry, like I said before, might as well get into it. A highly anticipated moment once again. Daniel Lee, who was previously at Bottega Veneta, came over and is doing his thing now over there. And we saw sort of like some of the classic staples of what works for Daniel Lee back at Bottega Veneta repeated over here, and trying to bring that energy over to Burberry and hoping for similar success because Lord knows he did his thing while he was running the show over there at Bottega. So we saw kind of similar elements, the really strong use of color and this really strong understanding of using color as language, and allowing that to be almost like a logo moment and making colors kind of like the defining kind of like almost like logo in itself, you know what I mean? Like when you see like the Bottega green. And I feel like he was trying to establish something like that here. We saw a lot of like the monochromatic looks, the monochromatic plaids, and like the red moment with the top and matching bottom. And we saw that repeated, I think, in yellow as well. Lots of blues all over the place, and tons of blue plaids. That totally falls in line with Burberry, of course. They are like the plaid, like the ones when it comes to like doing plaid. But I do think that we still, it's still the first collection. I still want to see more from it. It wasn't really my favorite. I still feel like there could have been more. I feel like we saw like his play of texture in the collection, which was cool. I did think it was interesting how he kind of reinterpreted that feathery moment that became a focal point during the Bottega era, and then kind of repeated that in the Burberry introduction. But here we see it kind of given in like an English countryside tint, and so we saw these kind of like bird, like cock feathers, like all over the jacket, and there's like a matching top as well that a guy walked through in. So that was kind of like a cool nod to the kind of moment that he established at his old house. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't my favorite collection, to be honest. I wish that we would have gotten something that was a little bit more involved. I felt like a lot of those monochromatic or plaid moments were kind of basic. Now, y'all know I always say give these designers just that first collection to breathe, to get their feet wet, to get it out, let the collection run through, troubleshoot, and kind of let the nerves die down. And then we see what comes in the coming collections when they really get to, move in and really introduce what is their kind of interpretation of their era at the house. So we'll see what's left to come from Daniel Lee over there. But I wouldn't say it's the worst, you know what I mean? But I am looking forward to seeing more from him over there. And also looking to seeing more like, really super cool accessories and shoes, like what he was bringing up Bottega that was really like, making people go, wow, those rain boots and whatnot. So, and the bags, the cassette bags and things like that. So we'll see what's to come. Moving on to another designer though, I wanted to talk about J.W. Anderson. Saw him basically self-reference a lot and basically homage his work from the last 15 years. He specifically said, He said, "Well, I can't look through someone else's archive without looking through my own. And I decided to take one element from every single collection of the last 15 years and try to work out a way in which he would merge two archives." So it's really interesting where we see him revisit some of these classic J.W. Anderson designs, some of like the striped shirts. I saw this really cool kind of like body muff moment that I love from him. This real cozy moment with the pockets in the middle that we saw reflected in like brown and this like pinkish red also. That was fun. And also these other looks that are really classically JW in the sense that they are really skimming the line between gender borders when it comes to fashion. And that was really his claim to fame when he was first coming out and making these collections that were shaking the scene up because of the fact that they were so kind of controversial in the way that they were styled and dressed on men, women, and people in between. Um, and so we saw these fun moments, but they were also like really simple and pared down at the same time. I feel like we saw a lot of like boxy coats and outerwear. There were those moments in between where we saw that kind of like parka with the huge like triangular oversized lapels. And so there were a lot more everyday pieces in this collection compared to some of the things that we saw in the past. JW said a lot about wanting to be blunt about clothes and really making clothes that, you know, are what they say they are up close and kind of, you know, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it's like romanticizing by saying true to themselves in a way. We also saw these moments that played with the silhouette, kind of like with those pants that also had these similar triangular shapes that jutted out really dramatically. Kind of like these furry moments on the midsection on some of these dresses that created the illusion of a higher waist. And then also these other furry moments that played around the body. Like there was one where the hands were like kind of connected in this huge, kind of like long, slinky like fur muff. So all these different opportunities to play with shape that once again we always expect from JW. Now would it be something that I would necessarily wear? Now that's another topic for another day. But I mean, I love to see kind of like some of these hallmark moments from J.W. Anderson collections in the past revisited. David Coma returns for Autumn Winter 2023 with another glitzy collection, but this time he's kind of scaled back on the jewels. We saw a lot of these really heavy jewel motifs repeated in a lot of the collections before, along with these like really super beautiful jeweled gloves, which we got again this season. I love those jeweled gloves from David Coma. But we also saw a take on 1930s and 1960s kind of like evening wear and tuxes and just like this continuous conversation that we've been seeing from a lot of designers about the modern evening wear, coming out of like the pandemic times, coming out of in this space where we're reimagining and redefining dress as it pertains to gender and what is appropriate and inappropriate for people to be wearing. And so we did see these boxy jackets, and they are a clear kind of like homage to Marlene Dietrich, who actually was the muse for this whole collection. And so that's where, once again, that 30s, 60s evening wear, the women's versus men's wear, kind of this like, and also the power dynamics therein. There are a lot of kind of like smoking related details. Like there was this Marlboro biker jacket, and also leading to these other moto inspired moments that we've seen from David Coma before. And him taking that inspiration from the idea of, you know, women being able to smoke, or the image of a woman smoking, and whether that appears to be feminine or ladylike, and just kind of, you know, women rebelling against those kind of preconceived boundaries. And so, you know, he definitely does this androgynously inspired thing, but I feel like with David Coma, it always feels very distinctly feminine. Like from the mini skirts to like even the way that he does the whole kind of menswear tailoring inspired thing, it definitely is giving cunt regardless. Like there's no avoiding that. But I think it's gorgeous. I like that we kind of saw these like oversized jewel details or embroideries once again that he's had before, and this time They have them as like straps, they kind of just details along the jackets. And sometimes in the strappy moments, it almost reminded me of like this BDSM harness kind of vibe. And so there are all these different blends of like sexuality and exploring that idea in David Coma's like really super high glam world. I loved the like red fur moment with the like mermaid dress. Like it almost reminded me of something out of Blue Marine's recent work. Like, and I feel like we saw certain things in there, especially like the red and purple looks that were so similar to the red and purple collection that we saw. I think for pre-fall last year. And yeah, they had like a really strong red and purple moment over there on that side, and so there definitely were some kind of like what's the word, um, synchronicities between the kind of like Blue Marine and David Coma's sense of like glitzy glam, like poppy fashion. So moving on from that, on the topic of this whole idea of power dynamics and femininity and women, we see Dilara Findikoglu. I believe that's it. Dilara came through with another collection that was very super edgy in the same vein of what we've seen from her before. She always has this really deeply romantic, kind of witchy vibe. It always gives like sort of like this like outcasted woman that's kind of like rebelled against society, almost in kind of like claiming her own power in a way that's like kind of magical. Dilara said that she took inspiration directly from the plight that's happening in Iran with the way that the women are being oppressed, and specifically the instance with Masa Amini, who passed away last September after being detained by religious moral police over the way that she was wearing her hijab, and passed away under mysterious circumstances. And just really echoing and really driving this idea of women reclaiming their body and repossessing their bodies. And so we saw her destroy modesty, as she called it. This collection was full of these moments where there were just sheer kind of bared breasts, constricted bodies in these lingerie moments. And kind of like a play on the shape of the body, the way things were really tattered and kind of disheveled, but in a way finding this new kind of Joan of Arc sense of power and revenge and vengeance was really the energy behind this collection. It was a very angry collection. It was a very ferocious collection, as Dilara even says herself. You know, for that one like pinnacle moment in the collection when we saw that kind of neck to floor length dress that had the kind of like Victorian cutlery all up and down. And she said she's coming back for revenge, dressed as she wants, and she has her knives. She means business, and niggas getting sliced and diced. Okay, I can't say that. But listen, it's no games when she pulls up. And if I saw somebody walking down the street with a bunch of old rusty ass knives all up and down their chests, trust and believe I'm crossing the street. Not in this New York City of ours. But anyway, enough of this. No, it was a very very cool collection. I love the aggressive energy in it. I love the unabashed sexuality of it. And I think it's Dilara's most aggressively femme collection yet. Now, before I start to really wrap things up, I did want to talk about Moa Lola for a bit. Moa Lola presented, and the Nigerian designer brought us a blend of really post-apocalyptic ideas. Moa Lola said backstage that the collection is about the collapse of society and what she envisions people wearing in the end times. So she says, low key, we're literally in the last fight between life and tech, and I feel like a lot of corporations are gaining massive power over a lot of things. And so I think maybe that's where we see Just this kind of logo parody that's almost reminiscent of what we were seeing kind of like in the earlier 2000s, maybe like 10 to 20 years ago, where like logo brands and kind of like twisting them or reinterpreting the logos was all the rage on the fashion scene. And so she comes back to that, but uses it as a personalization moment. So a lot of the logos are kind of twisted or warped to reflect kind of like a new Moa Lola logo. So we saw that especially in past seasons when she did that to the Sony Walkman logo, and that already kind of bared a striking resemblance to the original Moa Lola logo. And so she did that with kind of like the MoMA logo, and the New York Yankee logo. There were a lot of very distinctly New York City elements in here, from the bomber jacket with the huge Yankee moment on it. I love that. To even once again, this reference to MoMA, the New York City Art Institution. I wish that she would have shown the collection in New York, where some of these New York centric emblems and references would really kind of catch the eye and the delight of people who are viewing it who come from the area or who are more familiar with these kind of icons in our daily life, from the MoMA logo to the Yankee logo that were all warped to kind of reflect the M for the Moa Lola. And then we see some other cheeky moments here that are really just kind of Moa Lola's favorite type of thing to do, from the insert disc here kind of dress. I thought that that was fun. To kind of like also these cropped moments that we also have seen from her in the past, especially in the earlier collections, that really put the Moa Lola name on the map. These super mini short shorts that are cut really high along the leg and on the thigh, exposing the butt cheeks a little bit, and even on the menswear we saw, which I which is something that I've liked to see from her, is kind of how she likes to sexualize the male body or the men or men's wear, and kind of showing off certain parts of the man that of the body and menswear that we're not used to seeing, kind of like the thighs here with these kind of like faux sag jeans that seem to just be suspended and floating, that are like tied together with the Yankee belt, and then you just see these bare ass legs, these bare ass hairy legs just coming down the runway. And then even like this skirt moment that she did, where it kind of pulls all the way down and creates this V shape. Kind of really playing with shapes and playing with the way that she kind of seduces with the body, in a way that's very punk and carefree. But that said, I still feel like some of these pieces could use a little bit more work. I think we all by now agree that Moa Lola has a shock factor thing down, and definitely knows that magic sauce that it takes to get the youth really going and loving her pieces, from these logo-centric pieces that are always available on the website. You can always get the t-shirts and of course the bundle bag. But I want to see more. I love the sexiness. I love the way that she bears the skin and makes a claim for, once again in a Dilara kind of way, reclaiming the body. But I feel like someone kind of made references to like the HBA thing, and how like the collection kind of felt like that similar sort of vibe. And I don't fully agree, but I would say that, you know, aside from kind of like these jersey dresses and the kind of like long coats, and also once again these separates with the high shorts and the crop top, like kind of in these like leathery materials, I want to see the bar get pushed even further. I love the brand. I love the team that works over there. Shout out to them. The brand that I work with, we got to create some really cool bridgeless wraparound sunglasses that I thought were one of my favorite parts of the show, to be honest, not to be partial to the thing, but they really were stunning and caught the attention of a lot of people who viewed the show. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy her playfulness, her her experimental nature, her willingness to do anything and be a little messy and be chaotic. I think that's why we love Moaloa, and I think that's the energy that people have kept kind of riding on and lifting her up for. This daring kind of energy and fearlessness. So I want to see us get even more fearless, but even up the craftsmanship, up the complexity of these designs. You know what I mean? To see her get a little bit more, involved with the designs, and build it up to something that's even more than what we've seen before. Aside from those designers, I did want to do a quick couple honorable mentions, as I do. First, a quick mention to the Richard Quinn collection that we got this season. This season, we finally see Richard abandon the whole BDSM latex styling moment that had every editorial, every stylist, every runway going crazy with this whole prim and proper English royal type wear with a super sexy daring twist by adding the latex element that started to get so done, and so everybody all over the place was kind of using that as their kind of twist to the whole dressed up vibe, and it started to get a lot more predictable and overdone. I was kind of sick and tired of seeing it. By the time Kendall Jenner had worn that kind of high neck latex suit underneath that kind of rose floral printed dress, the ship had long past sailed for me. But this season he removes that completely, and we're left with, him trying to bring the attention back to these really beautiful gowns that he does, taking inspiration from Parisian couture houses, which have always been a fascination for Richard. He really gives us these classically, beautifully constructed gowns, you know what I mean? Really gorgeous, but also just kind of boring to me, to be honest. No shade to him. I hate to say it in a way that sounds dismissive, but then once you take away the latex thing that was kind of the edgiest part of it, it just becomes great gowns, beautiful gowns all over again. You know what I mean? And I'm sure that he has a demographic that is probably even more mature than the ones that were going up for the whole latex styling thing, that are buying those kind of dresses. You know what I mean? A lot more traditional style. Some would say matronly. But I mean, if it's selling, I think he definitely has a customer that loves a Richard Quinn gown. Touching on another designer, I wanted to talk about Asai. Asai, who has kind of soared past the Fashion East shows that he used to do, presented his own collection where he kind of, also like a few other designers this season, homaged himself and kind of brought up old looks and older kind of styles that have been super trendy and been a hit since he brought them out during his Fashion East shows. Kind of the hot walk dresses that this time around he expanded into these maxi moments that were so fun and I think are perfect for this spring summer season, to be honest. But can't wait to see them for autumn winter as well. As well as the nunchuck bag idea that we saw expanded into this whole nunchuck dress. Now, sometimes I wish that maybe it should have, I think it was backless, and I wish it maybe would have wrapped around so that shape of the nunchuck across the top was a little bit laid a little bit prettier or laid a little bit tauter across the chest. But I thought it was a fun way to evolve that nunchuck idea with the nunchuck as the halter and things like that. And then also wanted to touch on Christopher Kane, who, I don't know what those little backboards that he had on the back of the dress were giving, but it wasn't giving anything that I was into. This lurch-ass, situation that the models were leaning on the back. That collection, I don't know. We saw some things that we've seen before from him in terms of, these really, wavy, amorphous shapes from him, incorporated with the lace and mixing them with different textures and things like that. But I don't know, this one wasn't really a banger for me, wasn't super fun. And once again, the way that they did those dresses, some of the cuts of the dresses were really in need of some work and asking for some help, girl. So yeah, that really wasn't one for me. So my friends, this has been another Fleur Files. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining. Please like, subscribe, Follow me here on YouTube as well as on Instagram at Yung Fleur. And let me know what y'all thought about the London Fashion Week shows. Don't be stingy. Comment below, please. I hope to see y'all again for the next one that's coming up sometime next week. And until then, keep it cute or put it on mute. See ya.